Have you ever had just a terrible, incredibly stressful week? And then,
I know where this is going.
right. And when a friend casually asks how you're doing, you just automatically paste this fake smile on your face and say, "Oh, I'm perfectly fine."
Yeah, totally. It's almost a profound biological reflex at this point.
It really is.
Like the words "I'm great" or "everything is fine" are just out of your mouth before your brain even has a fraction of a second to register the crushing exhaustion you're actually feeling.
Yes, that is exactly the sensation. It's like an autopilot override.
Mhm.
I mean, I will be running on maybe 2 hours of sleep. My inbox is an absolute disaster zone. I'm running late for literally everything, and I'm just staring down this massive, impossible to-do list.
That's completely relatable Tuesday, right?
Exactly. And the second someone asks, "How are you?" my brain just goes into absolute panic mode.
Right.
Instead of telling the truth, I instantly smile, my voice jumps up like an entire octave, and I enthusiastically claim that everything is absolutely fantastic.
Which, then creates a really fascinating secondary problem.
Oh.
Yeah, because you deliver that performance so convincingly that the person asking actually believes you.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They nod, they smile back, they walk away, and suddenly you are completely alone with all of that untreated stress.
It is wild how universal this specific dynamic is. Like, we all walk around carrying these massive amounts of quiet stress, but we absolutely refuse to let anyone see it.
We really do.
And, if you're listening right now and you're nodding your head because you also habitually hide your struggles behind a bright, fake smile, just know that you are far from alone in this.
Definitely not alone.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive. We're looking into some really compelling source material that explores the heavy psychological weight of always pretending to be okay.
It's a heavy topic, but a necessary one.
For sure. We're going to unpack the underlying mechanisms driving this reflex, the severe emotional toll it ultimately takes on us, and most importantly, how we can learn to safely express our struggles without feeling like we're ruining someone else's day.
And what really stands out in the research is just how deeply ingrained this is in our social conditioning.
Right.
From a very young age, we're taught that emotional regulation means not making other people uncomfortable with our negativity.
Yeah.
We are basically trained to smooth things over.
So let's start right there at the root of the issue. Why do we actually do this? Like, when someone who genuinely cares about us asks how we are, why is our very first instinct to just lie to them? What's the psychological calculus driving that instant panic and the fake smile?
The sources point to one overarching driver, and it almost always comes down to a very specific fear.
Which is?
The fear of becoming a burden.
Ah, a burden.
Yeah. And, naturally, a burden is just defined as a heavy load or a big responsibility that causes worry or difficulty.
Right.
But in this context, we aren't talking about physical weight. We're talking about emotional weight.
That makes sense.
We view our own negative emotions, like our stress, our sadness, our anxiety, as this toxic, heavy load.
Yeah.
So when we're struggling, our brain automatically surveys our social circle and makes an instantaneous calculation. We look at our friends and think, well, they already have their own incredibly stressful jobs.
Right. They have their own family drama.
Exactly. We think, I cannot dump my emotional mess onto their plate.
So we somehow convince ourselves that we're performing this act of heroic consideration by lying. Like, we swallow our feelings because we genuinely think we're protecting them from worry.
That is the exact rationalization.
Yeah.
We actually believe that hiding our pain is a selfless act of love.
Wow.
We assume that if we actually share what we are going through, we transition from being a friend to being, a massive responsibility that they are now forced to manage.
There's actually a common idiom from the sources used to describe this exact behavior, which is putting on a brave face.
Yes. Putting on a brave face.
And just to be clear on the definition, putting on a brave face means pretending to feel confident and happy when you're actually facing a very difficult situation.
Right.
And practically speaking, it's less about actual bravery and more about pure emotional suppression.
Oh, absolutely.
It's projecting confidence and control when you're internally panicking, strictly because we've been conditioned to equate stoicism with competence. We think that if people see us sweat, they'll lose respect for us.
That societal expectation is just so heavy. We think that putting on a brave face is this defensive shield that protects both our reputation and the people around us.
Right.
But the reality of maintaining that shield is incredibly costly.
Oh, for sure. Actually, the text provides this vivid analogy that really stuck with me to illustrate that cost.
Oh, I love this one.
It suggests that pretending to be fine when you're secretly falling apart is like carrying a heavy 100-pound backpack while trying to run a marathon. And not just running, but simultaneously forcing a massive glowing smile for the cameras every single time you pass a spectator.
It is such a brilliant way to visualize the sheer cognitive load required to maintain the illusion of being fine.
Well, let's push past just the visualization of it for a second.
Okay.
You have this crushing weight, your muscles are screaming, you're totally exhausted, but you still give that enthusiastic thumbs up to the crowd.
Right.
My question is, does this defensive masking actually achieve anything? Like, does it protect us from anything real, or does it just manufacture a completely new set of psychological problems?
If we look at the long-term psychological outcomes, the strategy completely backfires.
Really?
Yeah, it doesn't protect you at all. It actively isolates you.
Oh, so?
Well, when you are constantly putting on that brave face and insisting that everything is perfect, you are essentially building an impenetrable wall around yourself.
Oh, I see.
You could be sitting at a crowded dinner table, surrounded by family and friends who deeply, genuinely love you.
Right.
But because you absolutely refuse to let them see the reality of your internal state, you end up feeling completely invisible.
Invisible in a crowded room. That is such a profound and honestly terrifying kind of loneliness.
And it leads directly to this fascinating human contradiction that the text highlights. It's a real paradox
Yeah.
in how we process our own deceit.
Oh, are you talking about the mind-reading trap?
Exactly.
I'm so glad you brought this up because it is so true. And honestly, reading about it in the sources made me feel a little exposed.
Came here.
Like, we intentionally hide our feelings. We put an immense amount of effort into pasting on the fake smile, curating our tone of voice, and insisting I'm great. But then internally, we secretly feel incredibly angry or upset that nobody noticed we were actually sad.
We lay out the absolute perfect disguise, and then we get mad when the disguise actually works.
Yes.
We somehow expect the people in our lives to possess telepathy.
We want them to look past the smile, see the invisible 100-pound backpack, and say, you know you just said you're fine, but I can see right through it, and I know you're struggling.
Exactly.
We expect our loved ones to read our minds so we can be rescued without ever having to risk asking for help.
But the reality of adult relationships is that people tend to take you at your word.
Right.
Because they believe your performance, we end up feeling neglected and unloved. And if you never take the mask off, people don't think you're secretly crying out for help. They just assume you're a superhero.
A superhero who never needs help.
Right. They look at you and think, wow, they just have an infinite capacity for stress. They never need support. They have life completely figured out.
Which sets you up for the next major consequence the sources outline, which is catastrophic emotional burnout.
Yes.
Because running that marathon while smiling for the cameras just isn't a sustainable state of being.
The physiological and neurological reality of faking happiness is incredibly demanding. It requires a significantly higher amount of energy than simply existing in your authentic emotional state. You are essentially doing double duty.
What do you mean by double duty in this context?
Think about where your brain's resources are going. First, your brain is trying to manage the actual root stressor, like the lack of sleep, the chaotic inbox, the anxiety.
Right, that alone takes massive energy.
Exactly. But then on top of that, you are actively suppressing your natural biological emotional response to that stress.
Oh, wow.
And you're simultaneously generating a completely fabricated positive emotional performance to present to the world.
That sounds exhausting.
It is. You're running multiple heavy programs in the background of your mind. Over time, that allostatic load, the wear and tear on your body from chronic stress, it just drains your battery to absolute zero.
Okay, I hear all of the data on this. I see how the double duty drains us, and I see how the mind-reading trap isolates us. But I do have to push back a little bit on the solution here.
Sure.
If hiding our feelings and maintaining the brave face causes severe burnout, what is the practical alternative?
Oh.
Because we don't live in a vacuum, we live in a functioning society with professional boundaries. I can't exactly drop to my knees, burst into tears, and tell my entire life story to the cashier at the supermarket just because I'm having a rough Tuesday.
That is a crucial distinction, and the sources are very careful to clarify this.
Okay, good.
The goal of dropping the mask is not to swing to the extreme opposite end of the spectrum and abandon all emotional regulation.
Right.
The first step isn't actually about changing the literal words you say to the cashier. It's a fundamental internal mindset shift.
Okay.
We have to completely deconstruct the idea that vulnerability is synonymous with weakness.
Let's contextualize that, actually, because we need to define vulnerable in this context.
Yes, let's do that.
It's one of those buzzwords that gets thrown around a lot. But here, being vulnerable means being open enough to show your true emotions and fears, even when it feels scary and risky.
Exactly. It doesn't mean oversharing inappropriately. It simply means possessing the willingness to take off the armor.
To acknowledge your actual reality.
Right. And the core insight from the research, which really serves as the pivot point for this entire deep dive, is this. Perfection isolates you, but honesty connects you.
Perfection isolates, honesty connects. I really want to pause on that because it completely flips the fear of being a burden on its head.
It really does. The easiest way to understand this is through a reverse perspective exercise.
Okay, lay it on me.
Imagine a close friend comes to you. They sit down, they look exhausted, and they admit that they are just really struggling right now, that they're totally overwhelmed and don't know how to handle it.
Right.
In that moment, do you suddenly view them as a toxic burden? Do you look down on them as weak or incompetent?
Never. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
Exactly.
My heart usually softens immediately. I feel honored that they trust me enough to drop their public relations act when it's just the two of us. It makes me want to step up, pull up a chair, and help them figure it out.
You don't recoil. You lean in.
Yeah.
Because vulnerability acts as a psychological bridge.
Yeah.
When we admit we're struggling, we are not actually handing someone a heavy load to carry. We're handing them an invitation for authentic connection.
I love that.
By sharing a small struggle, you indirectly give the other person permission to be human too. It basically says, I don't have it all together, which means it's safe for you to not have it all together either.
It's a mutual permission slip to be imperfect. Vulnerability is a bridge. I agree with that enthusiastically.
Okay.
But let's transition into the practical application. I can intellectually understand that vulnerability is a bridge, but in the real world, stepping out from behind the safety shield of I'm fine is still absolutely terrifying if you do not have the right words.
Oh, for sure. It feels like stepping off a cliff without a parachute.
Precisely. If my boss or a colleague asks how I'm doing, and my only two internal settings are either the fake smile or a complete unfiltered meltdown, I am going to choose the fake smile every single time just out of self-preservation. So we need tools. How do we tell the truth safely without trauma dumping on someone making polite conversation?
This is where the source material gets incredibly practical. It actually provides a vocabulary of healthy honesty.
Oh, perfect.
These are natural, safe alternatives to the automatic I'm fine that let you share the reality of a situation without forcing a friend to act as a therapist.
Let's walk through these practical alternatives because the wording is so intentional. What's the first one?
The first phrase is, honestly, it's been a bit of a heavy week, but I'm getting through it.
Honestly, it's been a bit of a heavy week, but I'm getting through it. The mechanics of that sentence are brilliant.
They really are. What makes it work is how it perfectly balances authenticity with reassurance.
Right.
By leading with, it's been a bit of a heavy week, you're admitting the stress, you aren't lying, but by immediately following it with, but I'm getting through it, you reassure the listener that you are okay.
It leaves the door open for further conversation without demanding it.
Exactly. If they have the time, they can ask about it. But it doesn't demand that they step into a caretaker role.
It lets them see that you are carrying the backpack, but it explicitly tells them they do not have to carry it for you.
Spot on.
Okay, but what about a strict workplace context? I don't want to overshare with my manager, but I also don't want to pretend everything is perfectly fine when we're drowning in work.
The sources specifically address this. For a professional setting, the recommended phrase is, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed at the moment, to be honest.
Overwhelmed. Let me just quickly weave in the definition of overwhelmed here because it's key.
Go for it.
Feeling overwhelmed simply means feeling like there's too much happening at once for you to manage.
Right.
And using that word is such a highly professional way to express stress at work. It shifts the focus away from a personal emotional failing and frames it as a logistical reality.
That framing changes everything. And notice the modifier used, a bit.
A bit overwhelmed.
Saying, I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, softens the delivery. It invites collaboration to solve logistics problem, rather than creating panic about an emotional crisis.
It shows incredible self-awareness. What's the third phrase? Like, what about a situation where you're just genuinely having a terrible day? Maybe you're sick and you just need to acknowledge you aren't at 100%.
The phrasing suggested for that scenario is, I've had better days, but I'm hanging in there.
I've had better days, but I'm hanging in there.
Yeah. And to define hanging in there, it basically means surviving a difficult situation without giving up.
Right. It acknowledges that the current conditions are bad, but you're signaling endurance. You're persisting.
It communicates resilience while remaining completely honest about the difficulty.
Observing these phrases collectively, what really strikes me is how incredibly warm and human they sound compared to a robotic, high-pitched, "I'm fine."
They really do.
But, sometimes simply stating your feelings isn't enough. Sometimes the invisible backpack is so heavy that you actually do need someone to stop and listen to you.
Which brings us to what the sources identify as the absolute hardest part of this entire process, like the final boss of vulnerability.
Asking for support directly.
Exactly. The secret to navigating this, according to the research, lies in utilizing a clear, polite opening to check a friend's emotional bandwidth first.
Okay, checking bandwidth. How do we do that?
The sources recommend asking this specific phrase. Hey, do you have the mental space for me to vent for a few minutes?
Do you have the mental space for me to vent? And just to clarify, to vent simply means to express negative emotions strongly just to get relief.
Really?
You're explicitly telling them, I'm not asking you to fix my life, I just need to let some steam out.
You're clarifying your expectations up front, which takes massive pressure off the listener. And if you find that phrase a bit too clinical, there's another option. I'm going through a bit of a hard time right now. Do you have time for a quick coffee?
The coffee approach. I think this is brilliant because it binds the emotional request to a very specific, time-limited activity. But analyzing this generally, asking about someone's mental space or time, is emotional intelligence at its finest. By being respectful of their time, you ensure you aren't actually being a burden.
Exactly.
Which completely neutralizes the original fear that keeps us masked.
It creates a perfectly safe container for both people.
So, as we wrap up, I just want to remind you, the listener, your true friends don't love you because you're a perfect smiling robot.
No, they don't.
They love you for your real, messy humanity. You are allowed to take the heavy backpack off.
Which leaves us with a really interesting final thought to ponder.
Oh.
If pretending we are perfectly fine drains so much emotional energy from us,
Right.
What incredible things could we achieve if we redirected all the energy we spend on putting on a brave face toward actually confronting and solving the problems that are stressing us out in the first place?
Oh, wow. Stop managing the illusion and start managing the reality. That changes everything. So the next time you feel that familiar panic rising, remember you have complete permission to put the backpack down.